October 19th meeting of the Raleigh Historic Development Commission. We're meeting by virtual by WebEx. First item, we will make sure we have a quorum and a roll call, please.
Okay, Gaston Williams.
I am here.
Janine McAuliffe. She said she might be a few minutes late. We'll watch for her. Katie Pate.
Here.
Travis Bailey. Ian Dunn.
Here.
Sandy Feaster.
Here.
Vershay Height.
Here.
Curtis Casefang.
Here.
Heather Leah.
Here.
Harold Millette. John Reese.
I'm here.
Susan Singer.
Here.
So we do have a quorum. We cannot hear you, Gaston.
Still can't hear you.
Gaston, you're muted.
Yeah, pushed it once, it did it again. All right, good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Are there any additions, corrections, or substitutions for the agenda, except as one item we're going to deal with when we get to it? All the members having received the agenda in advance, is there a motion to approve the agenda for today's meeting?
So moved.
It's been moved and seconded by Katie Pate, moved by Curtis, I think, seconded by Katie. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Raise your hand. No. Motion is carried to approve the agenda. The minutes of the September 21st meeting have been previously distributed. Does anyone have any additions, corrections, or suggestions for the record for our September meeting? I see no faces or hands. Is there a motion that we approve the minutes? Ian has moved and John has seconded. To be precise, Ian Dunn moved and John Reese seconded. Any discussion? There being no discussion, all those in favor, raise your right hand or raise any hand or nod. Motion is carried to approve the minutes. All right, we're to the, anytime y'all need to interrupt, okay? We're to the 1, 2, 3 topic this month, and I believe Aaron is on this.
Yes, so we'll give Tanya a minute just to load up the presentation. This month, we're going to talk about the LGBTQIA+ historic context study, which is an ongoing project. I think community awareness may have touched on upcoming sort of relaunch for this project last month. But Heather, I'll get with you again to share links and whatnot and push this out. All right, so what is a historic context study? These are the 4 biggies. It identifies places important to a specific community, architect, or phenomenon. And it's ultimately a final report, which includes a short history of Raleigh's LGBTQ community and a list of known significant historic sites, both existing and lost. It recommends, there's some clipping here, recommends buildings and sites that are eligible for historic designation, and that is specifically to the National Register of Historic Places. And it provides a way to evaluate places discovered later, and that's the historic component. It is not a definitive comprehensive history. Let's see. Okay, project details. So this project initially began in 2019. It stalled out during COVID, and we have resumed the project in 2021. It began as a result of a citizen inquiry where we went and analyzed what properties we do have designated, and we had exactly 0 properties related to LGBTQIA+ history listed in the National Register. Our budget is $10,000, which comes from our city planning and development department budget, specifically geared towards these type of reports. Our consultant is Jeffrey Harris. He goes by Free. To the right here, you can see a report put out by the National Trust and National Park Service that he contributed chapter 2. He is very well qualified to be doing this work. And some examples of previous context studies the RHDC has conducted are the report on the architect Leith Vallon, the Sears and other kit homes in the area, and the Method community, which all resulted in historic designations. So here's the project scope. Free will be doing the document research and finalizing the report. We kicked off the study with our first community meeting on October 14th last week and set up a project page and a survey to help disseminate information about the study. So this is what we want you guys to be pushing out to your networks as well. Particularly that survey piece is going to be open for at least a month. And on the right, you can see what it looks like. We've got a map where you can drop pins about places that you've known from the past, or just leave a comment or both as a way to help Free begin to collect information. We'll also be doing 10 oral history interviews. The survey is also an attempt to collect names of people interested in being considered for that, with more engagement opportunities to be determined. And a draft report will eventually come before the RHDC for review. And of course, we'll hold a final community meeting to share the ultimate results of the study. And that's it. Do you guys have any questions?
On time.
Yeah, I have a question. Is there a way you could send that little presentation?
I was just going to ask her, would you make that one correction on builds versus building and send us the link to the presentation when you get a chance, please?
Sure, I can do that. Right now, the, I guess, typoed version is available for download from Board Docs, but I'll correct that slide for sure and send it out.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your work. And she, for the record, please note that it was one topic under 2 minutes and 3 slides. So she fulfilled the mission of the 1, 2, 3. Thanks. That was good. Thank you very much, Aaron. Oh, one quick question, extraneous. I hooked you up with some of the leadership of RBPN, which is, for those of you who don't know, a gay, lesbian, and everything else professional network. I hope they're participating in this project. It's a valuable resource. They have a fairly good database of people that they could send things out to.
Yeah, I've been sending them the information via email. Thank you for making that connection.
All right, thank you very much. Next item on the menu. It's on a menu, all right. Let's see, we have demolition by neglect. I believe we're on to next. Item 4, bottom of page 2 of your expanded agenda. And it involves a couple of attachments you should be able to pop open. And there's an action requested on this, whether to initiate a formal investigation of this property. Would someone, staff?
Yeah, Tanya Tully here. Yeah, so this, as it says in the agenda item, this property in Glenwood, Brooklyn was brought to your attention at the February certificate of appropriateness meeting. It's also what sort of kicked off revising the procedure to allow individuals or anybody to let us know if there's a property that may be undergoing demolition by neglect. In any case, a friendly letter was sent to the property owner, letting him know about deficiencies going on with the property, and have him work on it. And we said that we would follow up. That the letter said we would be following up with the commission in 6 months. It's been 6 months. He has indicated both right after the letter and last month that he is still intending on selling the property. He has not made any changes to the building as of yet. He reported dealing with some hazardous conditions on some accessory buildings in the rear yard. But anyway, nothing has happened to the building. So the question now is up to you, is if you want to designate a committee amongst yourselves to go do a formal investigation and sort of move the process forward, or if you wish to reach out some other way.
A quick question. if I might, I see the report and everything else. What is the most significant flaw in the maintenance of is it roofing or is it what?
You haven't formally investigated it. So, I mean, you've made some observations, but no one has actually gone out to look at it. That would be the next step to do the walk around. And so I don't know if it's the siding or if it's the roof.
All right, let's do a rapid go around. Everybody turn your speakers on. Heather, what do you think? After your speakers on.
I would be curious if it has any historic significance, but if it's at the point, maybe we should go look at it. That would.
Curtis?
Absolutely. If somebody's brought it to our attention, we definitely should go investigate and decide whether or not further action's warranted.
Susan?
I agree.
Carol? I'm sorry, cut you off.
Okay.
I agree.
Ian?
Yeah, I went out and looked at it this weekend, and it looks pretty bad. I'll volunteer to be on that committee to go out and look at it
John?
closer.
I'm the guy that turned it in, so I will join Ian in that process. It's in my neighborhood. It's 3 blocks away. I've loved that house. It has incredible historic significance, simply because it has one of these large windows that that people who were wanted to display how much wealth they had by the size of their window on the front face, and those are only really seen in Oakwood. I don't think that there's any window that size in the Glenwood Brooklyn district, and it's a beautifully proportioned little house, and it's just a sad thing. The roof is in horrible shape. The siding has been just mangled over the years. The interior is completely gutted and just a mess. And the columns on the front face as well as the front porch are just rotted beyond belief.
Mershey?
I agree with Gwen to take a look at it.
Travis?
I agree. Take
Sandy?
a look at it.
Sandy?
I agree as well. More investigation.
Katie?
I agree and would also be willing to go take a look at it.
All right, the motion has been made by Katie Payton, seconded by Harold Millette, that we take a look at it. And all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And volunteers, I'd like to go with you guys because you guys know more about architecture and buildings than I do, and I could learn from it. Anybody else would like to be included?
I'd love to take a look.
Okay. All right, we need to not have more than 7 people, or you have a quorum and it becomes an official meeting. So good luck trying to arrange for all of y'all to go, but I'll put you all down on the committee. And with that said, though, who's going to be in charge of putting the report together that's on this committee? That's part of what you're agreeing to do. Thank you, Ian. So I've got Katie, Ian, John, Gaston. Did I miss anybody? I thought that there was one more person. Heather, right? Okay.
And we'll work out the quorum issue so we don't have to record our venture out.
You're good at 5. And I appreciate the interest. I just don't want y'all to get in trouble of open meeting laws.
Okay. The record should reflect that we approved a subcommittee going out and investigating this, and the interest of the commission is that we give this an examination. So we will. There are no rezoning cases, correct?
Correct.
There are no recombination or recorded plat issues. There are no right-of-way issues. Now we're going down to the historic designation of the William Han Brown House at item 5 on the agenda on page 3.
Okay, I'm going to pull up the presentation for Colette. Just one moment, please.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. This is Colette. As we're waiting for Tanya to pull up the presentation, I'll say that this is a landmark application that we received, and the research committee reviewed it at their October 6th meeting and determined that it should be brought to the full commission for review. But this is Pittysmont, the William Hand Brown House. It's at 2822 Van Dyke Avenue, which you can see here. So Pittysmont is architecturally significant as an excellent and intact example of a bungalow with rustic style architectural details, including the shingled exterior, rusticated porch post, and diamond light wood sash windows. At the time of the dwelling's construction, Van Dyke Avenue had not yet been laid out, and the house was built with its primary elevation facing west towards Dixie Trail. Van Dyke Avenue was constructed by the mid-1920s. Despite the proliferation of bungalows throughout Raleigh, Pittysmont stands out architecturally, particularly when compared to its neighbor bungalows in the West Raleigh Historic District. Pittysmont has experienced very few alterations despite its use as a rental property in the latter half of the 20th century. The most significant change to the house was the removal of the dormer on the north elevation facing the rear yard. Additionally, the south dormer facing Van Dyke was rebuilt by the current owners due to structural failure. Despite the loss of the north dormer and the change to the south dormer, Pittysmont remains pretty true to its original appearance and retains a remarkably high level of interior and exterior integrity. And as you can see from the pictures, it has a pretty unique appearance compared to a lot of bungalows in Raleigh. So your action today is to take a vote to recommend to City Council that the application be referred to the Department of Natural and Cultural Resources, Division of Archives and History for analysis. That's sending it to the State Historic Preservation Office. And to have council authorize a joint public hearing.
Wow, I want to live there.
Looks pretty cool to me.
Okay, a motion is required to do this or not? Staff? Action recommended.
So because it came from committee, I believe that is the motion, and I do not believe a second is needed.
All right.
A vote is all that it would require at this point.
All right, the vote is to recommend to the City Council that the application be referred to the appropriate Department of Natural and Cultural Resources, Division of Archives and History, et cetera, for a confirmation of the analysis. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed signify by doing something. Okay, I'm not opposed. It passes. Okay. Any other comments, Colette?
I have nothing else on this one.
All right. Well, if they offer us a house tour, I'd like to see it, please. Just kidding. All right. Moving on to National Registry nominations. There are none. Thompson Jones, Anderson, Allen House. I believe there is it's a follow-up to our earlier work on this.
Tanya here. It's simply an announcement that at the October 5th City Council meeting, it was formally designated as a Raleigh Historic Landmark. And the plaque has been ordered.
Yay.
Yay, another one. Action items, Oakwood Historic Overlay District Report Update. I believe there is a motion, there will be a motion on the table to put this on the table for next month's meeting. Is that?
Yeah, I'd like to move, we send it back to committee for a little QA.
Anybody need to know why? We just want to make some corrections and additions to the report that were perceived late, and we didn't have time to take it off the agenda before the meeting. Anybody need a further explanation than that? Then I think no one objects to this being tabled, so we'll table it to the November meeting. Annual report and work.
Gaston, quick question. Are you tabling it, or are you sending it to research committee, or are you sending it back to staff?
Curtis, are we sending it back to staff with your input?
Well, I would actually turn to Tanya and say, is this something that should hit the research committee, or is this something you guys can deal with?
I mean, I think at this point, I think we can handle it.
Okay, so staff.
But I have something I wanted to say about it. When it came to the research committee, I assumed it was correct. I'm not as familiar with the area as obviously you are, Curtis. So your points were really striking to me. And so if we're going to, wherever we're going to refer it, you know, I don't know how the process works, I guess. Was did staff review it before we got it the first time, Tanya? Or were we the first stopping point, the research committee?
No, staff looked at, Curtis, can you just tell us what the issue is so we can?
There are a couple issues. Appendix D, there were quite a number of photographs of structures that incorrectly identified the structure. Also, and this is by accident, I stumbled upon an accessory structure that was documented by the COA drawing in there on Polk Street that was noted as built in 2017, but it was never built. So it just kind of calls a lot into question.
So to answer your question, yes, staff looked at it. However, we did not do a photo comparison. We found a number of errors, including some missing buildings and some some we fixed and some we got the consultant to fix, but we did not do a photo comparison. So
Susan,
we will take a
your
look at that.
concerns, or do you need further information?
Say that again, Gaston?
Susan, does that address your concerns, or do you need further information for the?
Well, I guess it addresses my concerns to the sort of helping me understand that when we receive something from committee, and I mean from staff, we have to spend a little bit more energy and time, which I'm glad to do, reviewing it in terms of what is logical. And when we heard about it the first time, you know, it was kind of like, well, Matthew Brown did it and he knows the Oakwood. And I agree with that, but this raised a really huge question in my mind because I'm also on the little historic committee here, and everything is whatever Matthew says is sacrosanct. And I'm okay with that, but now I'm going, okay, I need to spend a little more energy thinking about it. So I think, you know, that's sort of an approach, and I love that you said that, Chris. I think it's an approach for all of us to take going forward, is that I think we can help staff more effectively if we're a little more thorough in our research, and this was a great lesson to me. So
Sure.
Thank you, Chris, and thanks, Tanya, for your explanation. And,
You're welcome, and thank you all. This was a challenging project, another one that got delayed in its proofing, but we were taking the work that was already done by Matthew consultant coming in and doing some additional work, and I just wanted to make it clear that the attributions of the photos to the properties is not something that Matthew did. That was something that happened after, you know, in the compilation of the document.
Well, and truly one of the largest designations you could ever imagine, just because of the number of properties documented in it. It's over 700 pages. I can understand how these errors occurred, but yeah.
Yeah, it's very understandable. I just think our job is, and this is like why I'm getting so focused on it. I was like, whoa, okay, now, you know, 700 pages, I better sit down on a weekend and really go through it. And I didn't realize that, so thank you very much.
Sure.
I think as a result, we strive for perfection. When we can't achieve that, we strive for correction.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Excellent.
Exactly.
That wisdom.
that leads to perfection. So we'll try to use the lessons learned and move forward.
Can I jump in here for a second?
Absolutely.
Staff, I looked at the Appendix D for probably a good 30 minutes this morning, and it really does seem like what I said in the email last night. It's very consistent over the entire length of Appendix D. Every property is like one off, and I looked at probably a dozen points throughout the whole appendix, and it never off track.
Actually, Ian, it does. I started digging through it.
Okay.
It goes off and then it gets back on track and then it goes off again.
Yeah, I think that might have. I think that might be because. Well, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing I would suggest is we force some new breaks in it
Yeah,
so that the captions and the photo are on the same page consistently. That would help, I think. But yeah, I mean, it's just going to take time. And there are a couple of photos that are misidentified that I only knew they were misidentified because they were of accessory buildings and they were identified with the wrong building. And I only knew they were wrong because I knew the backyard that they were said to be in. And I could see in the adjacent structure in a corner of like an elevation of the house, that accessory building and the house next door, basically, or across the street. So it's going to take a bunch of time probably for somebody to dig through that in that level of detail, but it's going to need it.
All right. Anybody else need to get in on this item?
Is that the job, is the time, Curtis, the job of the consultant? Or I mean, is that what the consultant was supposed to have done?
Honestly, I don't know whose job it was, but it's certainly our job to QA whoever did it.
I completely agree. I'm looking for who's going to put the time in, because I agree with you, that takes time. Who's going to put it in and where is it coming from? And because just being sensitive to getting perfection, yes, and I like getting to that place. How do we, and who takes that on, and how do we get there?
And honestly, procedurally, my larger concern is not the misidentified photographs, because I can see how that could be a simple editing mistake. The structure that was never built, I think, is kind of a biggie in terms of undermining our authority, you know.
Well, staff will take these notes, we'll look at the emails, and we will strategize, and if we need some assistance from the commission, we will reach out and let you know.
And I'm happy to help.
Okay, and staff and Curtis, I think if you get to the point where you think it would be productive and there's a tactful way to do it, to push our observations and corrections upstream to where they came from so that they're a little more careful and sending stuff downstream to us next time. Oh, just a suggestion that it's not, I'm not criticizing the staff at all. I'm just saying the submitter should have. I think there are mistakes that should not have been made. Closing out this item, we'll proceed on to item number 8, which is the budget, which is always an exciting moment. I know most of you are going to reach for your coffee, but let's talk about our budget, please, for a moment.
Okay, Tanya Tully here. So specifically, I am talking about the budget that is in the Planning and Development Department, not your nonprofit budget. And back in July, sorry, not the year of the month, but back in July with the new budget year, your budget, not including the fees for Francis Raspberry, the COA council, you have a total budget of $56,030. And that money is set out for a couple things. One is the annual mobile app fee. There is funding. There's just over $5,000 that covers your attendance at trainings and events such as, the Preservation North Carolina Conference, and also the biannual National Alliance of Preservation Commissions Forum. So for this fiscal year, depending on that, has paid for I think 5 of y'all to go to attend the Preservation North Carolina Conference this week, and it will cover some probably the registration for the NAPC conference next year. And then the fiscal year after that will cover any travel related to that, assuming it's in person, fingers crossed. And then you have $9,000, which is allocated for purchasing historic landmark plaques, bases, and their installation. And then $39,500 covers the blurbs, the little write-outs for Raleigh Historic Landmarks that go on raleighhistoric.org. It covers research reports, covers landmark designation reports. This fiscal year, 20,000 of it is allocated specifically for the African American Historic Resources Survey Update grant project. And the LGBTQIA plus, I believe, is coming out of last fiscal year's budget that got carried over. And let's see here. So we've got, and I ended up being out yesterday, I apologize, so I didn't do all the math, but you've got roughly, I'd say, probably $10,000-$15,000 to allocate to other historic research reports. I do anticipate 2 neighborhoods that may be requesting funding to do an investigation and report. We'll see if that actually comes through this fiscal year or not.
How much do those reports usually cost, Tanya?
It depends on the size. If it's a small neighborhood, 10,000 is probably about right. If it's, and it also depends if there's a report already in existence or not. For example, Mordecai, their CAC has created a Mordecai Historic Preservation Committee, I think is what they're calling it. And they're doing a neighborhood survey right now to get support for just doing an investigation. That neighborhood's already a National Register district. So the architectural historian in that case would primarily be doing a drive-by to see what is still extant, what has changed since the National Register designation, to see if it's worth doing anything else. The other is, and I don't know where this will go, but Starmount has expressed an interest, and I'm doing a virtual presentation for their neighborhood association this evening on National Register designation. And that would be from the ground up. It was placed on the state study list 2 years ago. And if there's interest, then they will make the ask of you to expend funds.
All right.
And not to forget community awareness. There are also funds. They're actually the event fees, like rentals and that kind of thing, has actually been moved into the Urban Design Center budget, which the Historic Preservation Unit is part of the Urban Design Center. So there are still monies to do rental fees and mailings and things like that. We just haven't done any of that lately. But there are funds for that as well.
Do you offhand know the balance in our nonprofit funds?
Did you look at that recently, Katie?
I do, yeah. Let's see here.
We can pick it up later if you can't get to it right away.
No, it's fine. I have it right here. I had a treasurer report written out. I have it in here. It is currently, as of the end of September, at $6,321.91.
So we have 2 pockets of money basically within our mission statement. Is that kind of accurate way to say it?
Yes, the difference is with the city budget that gets reallocated annually. The nonprofit budget is as you spend it, it goes away and you do not have a revenue stream.
Isn't there a revolving fund bucket too?
There is, that's a completely separate, sorry, I didn't even think about that. The City Historic Preservation Revolving Fund does exist, and currently there's $175,000 available there. There's $100,000 outstanding that will go back into the fund once the Lustron House sale closes.
Okay. Thank you for those explanations. Any other questions on the budget report? We'll go on to committee reports. First would be Heather on community awareness.
So the two big things we're working on right now are just the 60th anniversary. That's going to be kind of our next big thing that we're going to start talking about the next meeting. We touched on it a little bit, but so that's going to be something that we're working on. And if you guys have any thoughts, or especially other committees and committee heads, if you have any thoughts on things that should be included or ways that you would like to be involved too, please let us know, because that's going to be, we're going to start going into the planning stages for that. And we're hoping to kind of get into doing something for the 60th anniversary sometime in the spring. And depending on COVID or not COVID, will really depend on how that looks. And then obviously, we are just helping with promote the LGBTQIA plus history compilation that we're working on now. That's pretty much it.
Tanya here. Gaston, you skipped over the annual report and work plan.
Oh, I did. In fact, yes, I did. I'm sorry. It's under item 7B. Before we back up real quick, Heather, real quick, one sentence or two on the uptick in social media related to the Seaboard station.
Oh, sure. Yeah. So, really Gaston and Ian drove this. Gaston brought to us, a passion for Seaboard Station history, and he requested that Ian specifically pull together some verbiage and some history and some photos, and then as well, some of us took a little like an actual visit. We went out in person. We took a field trip to go see Seaboard Station and get photos of it as it looks today to compare with the archival photos. And it really created a very engaging social media month for us, with a very large uptick in social media. I don't have our numbers right in front of us, but I want to say we had a reach of about 50,000, which was pretty good for that, especially for that time of year. Typically those numbers we see more around the holidays, Halloween and Christmas, when it's easier to drive engagement. So it was very high level of engagement. We found a couple of groups of rail fans and people who really love railroad history. We even found remnants of back when it was used as a train station that are still there today. We talked to owners of some of the businesses. So it really created a dramatic increase in our social media, actually going out there and doing something and pulling this research together in advance. So we are talking about possibly maybe every 3 months, and we know COVID makes things tricky, but trying to do some kind of field trip. And not everybody would need to come, but if you wanted to, we could go and, perhaps visit a historic site or historic landmark together and kind of take a look at it and get photos. And it makes for some great bonding, community bonding within RHDC. And then it also, benefits our social, because the more we are social, the more that will show on our social media. So, thanks, Gaston, for bringing that up.
Thank you for that expansion. Now, if we might back up, because Tanya pointed out 7B on your action items, annual report and work plan, there's an attachment you may want to open, or she'll put it on the screen. Tanya.
I can pull it up real quick for you.
Really pretty pictures.
Yep, so the words for this have not changed since you made the edits back in the spring. That is now put into the format. So it is a report from July 2019 through June 2021. Includes a letter from Gaston and some photos, and it highlights the work that y'all did throughout that time, including the new landmarks and COA stats and the collectible historic building cards. And then it also includes the work program, which sort of backtracked to what you had been doing. So that back in 2020, and it'll run through June 30 of 2022. And then it's got the list of all the commissioners. So this is sort of a two-part adoption. The request, if it is at your pleasure, is for you to approve it to take to City Council, where you will present your report and then get the okay, the official okay for your work program. And then we'll do this again in late spring, early summer next year and get back on track time-wise.
Just for my information, when we present this to council, is it in writing or is it a presentation within a 3-minute rule, or what do we do?
Well, they like for you to, it's a presentation. They would like for you to be as brief as possible, but there is no time limit on it. It's not during the public comment period. It will come under report and recommendation of the Raleigh Historic Development Commission. You know, like when other committees and boards, commissions and boards come up and present. In past years, when we were meeting in person, we did hard copies. I made the decision this time to just have it electronically as a PDF, since everything's virtual right now.
So instead of the 1, 2, 3 rule, we'll use the 1, 4, 6 rule. Okay, great. Questions about the report? Is there a motion that we vote to adopt the report as presented to City Council? Motion made by Ian and seconded by Curtis and co-seconded by Verche. Any discussion, further discussion? It's a very nicely crafted, whoever did it was a very nicely crafted visual when you pull it up on your screen. So congrats to the staff and or the project management staff who does this kind of thing. It's really quite attractive to see it.
We work with the communications team on this. Yes.
Oh, well, we'll get them some free fare tickets. All those in favor of this motion, please signify by saying aye or raising your hand. All the hands are raised. It's anonymous. It's unanimous. It's not anonymous. It's unanimous. Back to the reports from committees under research. Susan?
Okay, thanks. We had a property brought to our attention at 18 North Tarboro. Had a bunch of comments on its history, where it came from. I've been in touch with someone in that neighborhood who's an activist in the community. And, you know, we're gonna see what we can do to talk about preserving the house. I understand that the owner had an application, withdrew it, and has resubmitted it. I think it's an area where we have not had a lot of support for the RHDC, and I'm hoping to engage the community in thinking about the history and the value of preserving awareness and properties, awareness for past destroyed properties already, but hanging on to what's left of the community. So I'll keep you posted on it. As I think was there anything else that I think that was all I was supposed to report on for this.
Thank you very much for your report. Somebody else? Okay.
I just asked Tanya, if there was something else I don't have it written down, I have that written down.
Nope, that was it.
Okay.
On to item C, under item committee report from Certificate of Appropriateness. Verche, I think.
Yeah, so I actually was not able to attend last month's COA meeting. So I don't know if somebody from the commission wants to offer up any thoughts on that, but we do have an upcoming COA next Thursday, so we're all preparing for that.
While we're on this topic, staff, Tanya, I assume, what's the report from our litigation team on the contesting of the Overland project that was subject of a lively discussion?
No report.
All right, so we assume they're working diligently to support our well-documented effort to deny that particular request and have it modified. Lestron House.
Yes, and I'm sorry, I missed something and I went back to my original notes. I just want to let everybody know that we've agreed that all plaques will be at street level or in the right of way. And that's going to be a standard process, so the committee doesn't have to review it every time. Sorry. Done.
Great. So a standing rule, standing whatever. How's that going to be documented? Staff will know it, right? And
Yes, staff was supposed to document it. Actually, I was supposed to bring it up at this meeting, so.
can we
I
make
did.
sure it gets into whatever little form they fill out when they get
Right.
it?
Yes.
Put a bullet
Yes.
point in there, please.
Yes.
Okay, Lestron House. The good news is there's no bad news. And the bad news is that our property continues to be used by non-residents for various purposes. I won't go into on the record, but they have visitors, and every time there's a visitor to the Lestron House, we get a neighborhood email, which unfortunately goes to half the city council and a whole pile of people. So we respond to those. Basically, they're complaining about trash and trespassers, and we encourage them to call the police. The most recent incident, they did call the police. Of course, by the time the police got there, since it's not high on the list, the person had left. So if you are in the area of the Lestron House on Hayes Street, right? Please drop by and just report anything that you see that needs to be addressed. We did tell one of the immediate neighbors, there are two families that live right beside it. They can see into the property. We encouraged them to call the police whenever there's a problem. And one of them asked for a spotlight that I happened to buy earlier and offered to him, and he declined. He now wants it available, and I hope that the Lestron House moves forward quickly. On a good note, there have been new markers, survey markers, so that means somebody is at least doing a new survey. So that was.
And the address is 314 Haywood Street.
Haywood, it says Hayes, 314 Haywood. Interesting neighborhood. If you want to see a neighborhood in transition with a lot of work being done, a lot of houses and interesting things, that's a pretty interesting street.
Lestron House is under contract, correct?
It's under contract, and the ball is in the hands of the buyer to expedite his efforts.
Gotcha.
No impediments, but he's just either moving slow by design or just moving slow or whatever. We've done everything to encourage a more aggressive engagement, but it's taking time.
Gotcha.
Nominations, we will pass over that because it's not quite time to start that yet. Dorothea Dix Park, who has any comments? I haven't heard nothing from that, except I know that there's an outstanding bronze exhibit in Dorothea Dix Park. If you haven't seen it, I'll send you the link because it's way cool. It's by Spanish sculptor. Anybody know what I'm talking about?
It's traveling the world, and it's from Mexico, actually.
From Mexico?
Mhm.
Oh, he's not
That's
Spanish.
correct.
He's
Mexico.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it's quite stunning. You ought to take a peek at it online or otherwise.
Justin, this is Erin. Could I provide just one detail? This is one of our ad hoc committees that only meets when it needs to. And at this point, there has been no real activity for us to participate in. However, for those of you that are on the committee and are interested, the next Dix Park community meeting is tonight. I think that you should be able to visit the Dix Park website to access the link. You know, it's a virtual meeting as most things are currently. But I believe it's at 6 p.m. tonight. So I'll actually, in addition to sending out the 1, 2, 3 presentation, if I can go find that link, I'll include it in the email for anybody that wants to watch.
Thank you, Aaron. On to the public comment section under item 10. I haven't been alerted in advance that there are any members of the public present. I assume that that's true still.
That is correct. No one signed up.
Going on to the report of the commissioners, item 10B.
I have one.
I'm ready. We're ready.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, this came up during one of our committee meetings, brought up the Raleigh Neighborhood College, and it was requested that kind of make it known at the business meeting since it might be of interest to the rest of the commission. The Raleigh Neighborhood College is a program that the Housing and Neighborhoods Department and the Neighborhood Enrichment Services Group has been hosting for the last 20 years. And it is basically where citizens can go for free. In the past, it was kind of a field trip style format, you know, with dinner and stuff. It's been moved over to virtual temporarily. I did it in person once, and now that I've been on the commission for a couple of years, I thought it'd be valuable for me to go back and do it again. So I'm doing virtual format now. However, the program consists of going for once a week for a couple of months in the evening, and the different city departments come and give lots of valuable information about what their department does and how the city functions through all of the different levels. The topics include the transportation, budget and finance, solid waste services, planning and development, emergency communications, parks, recreation, cultural resources, fire and police, code enforcement, and communications and equity inclusion. And then a graduation project is required to complete the program. It's a small ask, but something to help engage your local neighborhood community in the city services or other related items. And yeah, it's pretty interesting. And I think a lot of people don't know about it, but it seems like something this group would be interested in. So if folks have any questions about that and want to participate or want to know someone who's done that before, please let me know. I think it's always good to have people who are on boards and commissions go to those in particular so that we can share our experience volunteering for the city with other interested people who are looking for the same opportunities. That's all.
Okay. Anything else? All right. Item C under 10C, report of staff. Any other reports that need to be made?
No.
Any treasurer's report? We kind of received the treasurer's report as a part of our discussion about budgets. Is there? We've covered it, or do you need to add more, please?
Yeah, we hit the big points. Just a couple of things I wanted to emphasize. We touched on the revolving loan fund, and that more of that funding will become available soon. I think it would be advantageous for us to start thinking about some projects that we might want to use that funding for. Staff, correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like it's kind of open to whatever project we think, you know, someone or a specific property in the community that would really benefit from that funding. And I think at some point we plan to go over how we've used it in the past, just to help people start thinking about how we could do that, or maybe do some advertising around that if we decide that's how we want to scout new projects. Again, in our nonprofit account, we've got about $6,300, and we can use that pretty freely. And yeah, I just wanted to emphasize that it's important for us to use our funding so that we don't lose our funding in the future, and that the city will know that you know, we have important stuff going on, and hopefully will give us more money to do more things. So
Yeah, I guess one of the things we can keep in mind in projects, when we have that demo by neglect research going on, I don't know, the person seems to have given up on restoring that house and wants to sell it. Maybe we should try to make sure the new buyer, if he or she is interested, at least is aware of what funding opportunities there might be.
I think that's a great idea.
Breaks, but these pockets might end up helping a buyer stay interested in renovating instead of tearing it down or whatever they want to do. Anything else? We're good. We're going on to news of other organizations, the CLG training opportunities. Tanya, is that you or to talk about the training opportunities here?
We don't usually talk about them. There's no new CLG training. I don't think I added to the list,
Right.
but there are under announcements and events, just some other interesting items that we learned about and put up there. For example, well, Dark Raleigh, City of Raleigh Museum. I think that's one of their fundraisers. That is at the end of October. They've got some Pope House Museum has tours. There's some, well, it's the City of Raleigh Museum also has some historic sites tours. They're calling a hauntingly good time. You can click the link and find out what's going on there. And I put a link to the, I'm not going to be able to go, but the DC, District of Columbia Preservation League, they're having their 50th anniversary this year, and they're having some events focused on, they're calling it Stewardship for Climate Change, conserving DC's built heritage to curtail climate change. And it's just something I want, hopefully they'll record some of the events or I can find out more about it. It's interesting to see a focus on climate change and historic preservation tying together, because you don't, so I'm very curious to see how they are making that argument.
Okay, and can you remind us all one more time, several of us are going or participating in the PNC training?
Yes, the Preservation North Carolina's annual conference. There are 5 of you, which it looks, I sent you, I forwarded you the email that I got. I had everybody listed that had registered. I'm assuming that I will get the email with the link to attend and I will forward it on to you when I get it. I have all your email addresses, but I think I'm getting them all.
Is that Thursday and Friday?
It is Thursday and Friday, yes.
All right, Harold, don't want to put you on the spot, but I like to, since I think in scattered in random ways, I'm just going to ask you to share any thoughts you have about anything you'd like to share, whether it relates to RHDC or your work or anything you wish to share for a minute.
Yeah, I was actually had a question. I don't know if it directly relates to RHDC, but the plaque installations. I rode by the cemetery off of Garner Road and actually saw them installing the plaque there for the cemetery. And I was just wondering, are these like public bids or how do we find the installers for
that is an excellent question. The Hillcrest Cemetery on Garner Road, that is a plaque that they were putting up is their own plaque about the cemetery. It's not our landmark designation plaque, but right now it's a low enough amount that I do not have to put out bids. I've sent emails out to several installers over the last couple of years. Handyman, the person that did it several years ago, and nobody is interested in doing a small job where they have to register with the city. Yeah. That's my only assumption. So if anybody knows anybody, I've got about 8 plaques that I need to get installed. And actually now I need to order more plaque bases since we're going to do them differently.
Can you remember?
Feel free to send me an email if you know of somebody who would have the requisite skill set.
Yeah, I'll look around. But is it typical for the property owner to, you said Hillcrest, that was their own plaque. Is that typical or does the city kind of provide the?
No, we typically, that's part of it. Landmark designation comes with the plaque and getting it installed for them.
Gotcha.
I don't have a friendship with him, but I sure am beholden to Jim Dettermont. He's gone on to bigger projects, but he made and
I reached out to him too.
Well, he's just a prince of a fellow, but he by necessity needed to do more income producing projects. But he made in his circle of friends know people, and then it occurs to me that Thomas Sayer may know people that doing smaller installations. Maybe we could develop a little list of people to refer, whether it's private plaques or public plaques, a little list to draw on of artisans who do this kind of work. It not necessarily need to be monstrous big jobs. Not that the staff needs one more thing to do, but you reached out to them, I expect. Okay, I'm at the end of the agenda. Anybody else have anything to add? We're at time.
Gaston,
Yes.
should I email everyone that's interested in going out to the Glenwood Brooklyn House, or is that
Yeah, I think that'd be good. If you could initiate that, that would be great. And
Okay. Can you remind me who volunteered again, staff?
it was,
I will send that to you, Ian, along with the standards again, the list of defects that are specifically listed out in the code that you're looking for, as well as a sample report.
Okay, thank you.
all right, so summarize what we kind of overcap of some of the high points at today's meeting. We received a 1, 2, 3 presentation by Erin on the LGBT related and other parts related project. She's going to correct one thing and resend us the survey link, I think, later today. I'm going to ask Heather to, in the next meeting of the community awareness, figure out a way to occasionally remind all of us how we can enhance our social media presence by at least going on to our liking our Instagram sites and some other things, just ways to push the numbers. And particularly, there are 12 of us here, 12 times 2 or 3 is a lot. So all that helps on our social media. Heather, Ian, John, myself, and Curtis, I think, are offering to go look at the demo by Neglect. Is there missing anyone? Susan, you had a concern about how we address the item 7A, the report on the Oakwood, and make sure that we kind of double watch out for any errors or omission in future reports. And she was concerned about how we can kind of check over these things, make sure we don't miss anything in the future or something gets biased. The PNC conference we're reminded of, Tanya's birthday was on October the 6th. I had received no request for bond money, so I assume her birthday was quiet. Was it, Tanya?
It was fantastic.
Okay, she disconnected from the world for a couple days and took much deserved time off. Travis is appropriately sleep deprived. He seems to be asleep right now. No, he's not. His eyes are open, blinking. How's your child?
He's doing good. Not sleeping a lot though.
There you go. You know, the days you wake up with your head on your keyboard, you know that you're sleep deprived, right?
Exactly.
Our next meeting is November 16th. John, you still listening? Or are you sitting up? You're the host. You have anything to say? He's gone. He's doing something else. Anybody have anything to add before we close this meeting out? Again, thank you very much. And Susan, thank you for your input on various technical issues related to your function. I appreciate them greatly. Rest of you have a great day. It's sun is up, so enjoy. That's so long, and that's it.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Take care.
Enjoyed seeing you.